She's much more experienced than I am. I don't think it was an easy win for her, so it's very difficult.
Last year, the tears came quietly. No screaming. No dramatic collapse. Just a 20-year-old girl walking off the clay courts of Paris with her head down while the tennis world moved on without waiting for her. But this year, everything feels different because on May 23, 2026, Alex Eala celebrates her 21st birthday in Paris. And less than 24 hours later, she walks into the biggest clay court tournament on earth with the eyes of the entire tennis.
She is the best tennis player and the best athlete that I have seen in the game of tennis.
World suddenly locked on her, not as a wild card, not as a junior sensation, not as a hopeful underdog trying to survive the spotlight. She arrives at French Open as a legitimate top 40 player who earned her place through rankings, victories, sacrifice, and one relentless year of proving people wrong. And honestly, that might be the scariest version of Alex Eala we have ever seen, because 1 year ago, this exact same moment nearly broke her. At the 2025 French Open, Eala entered Paris carrying huge expectations after becoming one of the most talked about young talents in tennis. Fans believed she was ready for a breakthrough. Headlines were exploding across the Philippines. Tennis analysts were beginning to notice her confidence, her movement, and the maturity in her game. Then reality hit. She lost in the first round only days after celebrating her 20th birthday. The timing was brutal. Instead of becoming a fairy tale moment, Paris became a painful reminder that talent alone is never enough at the highest level of tennis, and the doubters came immediately. Some critics said she was not physically ready. Others questioned whether her game could truly survive on clay courts against elite competition. A few even suggested that the hype around her had arrived too early, but while people were busy talking, Alex Eala was busy improving, quietly, patiently, dangerously. Over the next 11 months, something changed in her mentality. This version of Eala that entered 2026 no longer looked like a talented teenager hoping to surprise people. She started looking like somebody preparing to take over. Her ranking climbed aggressively. Her confidence grew stronger, and the wins started becoming impossible to ignore. By March 2026, she reached a career-high ranking of world number 29, an achievement that completely changed how the tennis world viewed her future. Think about how insane that rise actually is. Just a few years ago, she was mainly known as the young Filipina prospect carrying the hopes of Southeast Asian tennis. Now, she is entering Grand Slams as a player that seeded opponents desperately want to avoid. And perhaps the biggest reason for that transformation can be summed up in one name: Rafael Nadal, the greatest clay court player in tennis. History, 14 French Open titles. Man whose dominance at Roland Garros became so legendary that some players entered the tournament already believing second place was the best they could achieve. And according to Eala herself, Nadal has been mentoring her at the Rafa Nadal Academy. Imagine that for a second. A 21-year-old Filipina player preparing for Roland Garros while receiving advice from the single greatest clay court champion the sport has ever seen. That is not normal. That is history moving in real time. And suddenly, the entire tennis world is paying attention. But here is what makes this story even more intense. The pressure surrounding Eala right now is absolutely enormous, because Roland Garros is not some feel-good social media story. This tournament destroys. People clay courts expose weakness more brutally than any other surface in tennis. Every flaw gets amplified. Every lack of stamina becomes obvious. Every moment of hesitation gets punished, and critics still believe Eala has weaknesses. They point to her recent clay season results. At Madrid, she suffered a difficult loss after showing signs of physical fatigue. In another tournament, she exited earlier than expected. Some analysts argued that her aggressive playing style still lacks the consistency needed to survive deep runs against elite clay. Specialists, even legendary coach Brad Gilbert reportedly, suggested that Eala still needs major improvements before she can consistently challenge the very best players in women's tennis. And honestly, that criticism matters, because Brad Gilbert has spent decades identifying what separates talented players from true champions. But here is where things get fascinating. Even in defeat, Alex Eala keeps making the tennis world nervous. Take her match against Elena Rybakina in Rome. On paper, it looked simple. Rybakina was the world number 2, a Grand Slam champion. An established superstar expected to comfortably eliminate a younger opponent. But the actual match told a completely different story. Eala pushed her harder than expected, forced long rallies, created pressure moments, and most importantly, she looked fearless. That matters more than casual fans realize, because elite players know the difference between an easy victory and a dangerous opponent. And after Rome, people inside tennis started realizing something uncomfortable. Alex Eala is improving much faster than expected. Her movement on clay looks sharper. Her confidence against power hitters is growing. And mentally, she no longer appears intimidated by big stages. That is a terrifying combination for the rest of the tour. And then there is the Chris Evert factor. When Chris Evert speaks about clay court tennis, the entire sport listens. 7 French Open titles. One of the greatest players in tennis history. A woman who understood the mental brutality of Roland Garros better than almost anyone. And long before Eala became a top 40 player, Evert publicly described her performances as incredible, not promising, not interesting, incredible. That single word changed everything, because legends recognize greatness before rankings. And Evert clearly saw something in Eala that statistics alone could not explain. Now, 1 year later, the evidence is finally catching up. The rankings reflect it. The crowds feel it. The media cannot stop talking about it. And perhaps most importantly of all, the expectations are now real. Last year, Alex Eala arriving at Roland Garros felt like a milestone for Philippine tennis. This year, people expect her to compete. That is a completely different kind of pressure. Milestones are celebrated, expectations are judged. If she loses early again, critics will immediately ask questions. Was the ranking rise temporary? Is she really ready for Grand Slam pressure? Can her game survive 7 brutal clay court matches? But if she wins, everything changes. A deep run at Roland Garros could completely transform her career. Her rankings could rise even higher. Major sponsorships could explode internationally. And she could officially become one of the biggest tennis stars Asia has produced in years. And remember, this is happening at only 21 years old. That is what makes this story feel almost unbelievable. Most players are still learning how to survive on tour at that age. Meanwhile, Eala is entering one of the most difficult tournaments in sports while carrying the expectations of a nation, the guidance of Rafael Nadal, and the attention of tennis legends who already believe she belongs among the elite. That is not normal pressure. That is superstar pressure. And yet, somehow, she looks calm. That may be the most dangerous sign of all. Because the old version of Alex Eala sometimes looked emotional under pressure. The new version looks focused, more mature, more patient, more calculated. After her difficult Madrid experience, she did not panic. She rested, recovered, then returned stronger in Rome. That response revealed something massive about her mentality. Champions do not avoid setbacks. They adapt to them. And right now, Alex Eala looks like a player learning how to turn pain into fuel, which brings us back to Paris, back to the birthday, back to the moment that feels almost scripted by destiny itself. May 23rd, her birthday. May 24th, Roland Garros begins. The timing feels unreal, and whether people admit it or not, moments like this create legends. Because sports fans do not just remember victories, they remember stories. And this story already feels unforgettable. A young Filipina star. A painful Paris memory. A dramatic comeback 1 year later. Guidance from Rafael Nadal. Praise from Chris Evert. A top 40 ranking. And a chance to prove to the entire tennis world that she belongs on the biggest stages forever. Now the only thing left is the result. Can Alex Eala finally conquer Paris? Can she survive the pressure that destroyed her 1 year ago? Or will Roland Garros once again remind her how cruel tennis can be? The draw is coming soon. The debates are exploding already. And the next few weeks could completely change the future of her career forever. So now I want to hear from you. How far do you think Alex Eala can go at French Open? Can she reach the second week? Can she shock the tennis world? Or is the pressure simply too big right now? Drop your prediction in the comments below. And if you want complete coverage of Alex Eala's Roland Garros journey, the draw reactions, match analysis, biggest moments, and every dramatic twist from Paris, subscribe right now because this story is only getting started. And trust me, the tennis world may never look at Alex Eala the same way again after this tournament.